For decades, Somalia has been a nation defined by conflict and instability. The world often saw it through the narrow lens of piracy and civil war. But today, a different story is unfolding off its extensive coastline, one that involves immense untapped wealth. Beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean lie some of the world's most promising, unexplored oil and gas reserves. This hidden treasure is now drawing significant global attention. Countries and corporations are looking at Somalia not just as a fragile state, but as a potential energy powerhouse. The Horn of Africa, long a strategic choke point for global trade, is now becoming a new frontier for energy exploration, sparking a modern-day gold rush. This newfound interest is a dramatic shift for a country that has struggled to establish a stable central government. The promise of oil wealth offers a powerful incentive for national unity and economic reconstruction. International energy firms have long suspected the existence of these reserves, but the persistent security challenges on the ground made any serious exploration impossible. Now, with a degree of stability returning to Mogadishu and a government eager to secure its economic future, the conditions are finally aligning. The Somali government is actively seeking partners to help unlock this potential, hoping to transform its national destiny from one of aid dependency to one of economic self-sufficiency and regional influence. The sheer scale of the estimated reserves is staggering, placing Somalia in the same league as established oil giants. Initial surveys and geological data suggest that the country's offshore fields could hold vast quantities of hydrocarbons. This potential has not gone unnoticed by major global powers, who are always searching for new energy sources to fuel their economies and diversify their supplies away from traditional and often volatile regions. Somalia's strategic location along major shipping lanes only adds to its appeal. The nation is positioned at a crossroads of international maritime traffic, making the prospect of exporting oil and gas from its shores an incredibly attractive proposition for any investing partner. This is where Turkey enters the picture. While Western companies have been hesitant, citing lingering security risks, Ankara has boldly stepped forward. Turkey signed a significant offshore oil and gas exploration agreement with Somalia in early 2024, a move that signals a deep commitment to the region. This deal is not just a simple commercial transaction, it is a calculated geopolitical maneuver. It builds upon years of Turkish engagement in Somalia, which has included substantial humanitarian aid, infrastructure development, and military training. For Turkey, this oil deal is the culmination of a long-term strategy to build a strong and multifaceted partnership with a key African nation. Turkey's interest in Somalia's oil is driven by a powerful combination of economic necessity and strategic ambition. Economically, Turkey is a major energy importer, a dependency that places a significant strain on its national budget and leaves it vulnerable to global price shocks. Securing a direct stake in Somalia's massive reserves, estimated to be as high as 110 billion barrels, would be a game-changer. This figure, if proven accurate, rivals the reserves of major producers like Kuwait. Access to such a resource would dramatically reduce Turkey's reliance on other suppliers, such as Russia and Iran, bolstering its energy security and providing a massive boost to its economy for decades to come. Beyond the barrels of oil, this deal is a cornerstone of President Erdogan's broader foreign policy. Turkey aims to project its influence far beyond its immediate neighborhood, establishing itself as a key player in Africa, the Middle East, and the wider Islamic world. By investing in Somalia when others would not, Turkey positions itself as a reliable and powerful partner to developing nations. This is soft power backed by hard assets. The agreement includes not only exploration, but also a defense pact, where Turkey has pledged to help protect Somalia's territorial waters. This military dimension cements Turkey's role as a security guarantor in the Horn of Africa, a region critical for global maritime trade. The military component of the deal is particularly crucial. Turkey has already established its largest overseas military base, Camp Turksum, in Mogadishu, where it trains Somali soldiers. The new maritime security agreement extends this presence from the land to the sea. This serves a dual purpose. First, it protects the future oil and gas installations from threats like piracy or regional rivals. Second, it gives the Turkish Navy a significant operational footprint in the Indian Ocean, a vital waterway for global commerce. and a theater of increasing competition between major powers like the United States, China, and India. This strategic positioning allows Ankara to project power and safeguard its growing interests in the region. Ultimately, Turkey's motives are deeply intertwined. The economic gains from the oil will fund its political and military ambitions, while its military presence will protect those economic assets. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle of influence. By helping to stabilize Somalia and develop its economy, Turkey earns a loyal ally and a privileged position in a strategically vital part of the world. It is a long-term vision that sees Somalia not as a problem to be managed, but as a partner in a grand strategy to reshape regional power dynamics. This move challenges the traditional spheres of influence held by Western and Gulf nations, announcing Turkey as a formidable new player in Africa's great power game. For Somalia, this partnership with Turkey represents a historic opportunity to fundamentally alter its trajectory. After decades of being synonymous with state failure, the prospect of leveraging its vast oil reserves could fuel a national rebirth. The potential economic benefits are immense. Revenue generated from oil exports could be used to rebuild critical infrastructure, such as roads, hospitals, and schools, which have been decimated by years of conflict. It could fund the creation of a strong professional national army and police force, capable of providing security across the country. This newfound wealth could finally give the Somali government the resources it needs to extend its authority and provide essential services to its people. The deal also has the power to change how the world sees Somalia. A successful and transparently managed oil sector would transform the country from an aid recipient into a major economic partner. This would attract further foreign investment, not just in energy, but in other sectors like agriculture, fisheries, and telecommunications. The image of Somalia could shift from one of desperation to one of opportunity, enhancing its diplomatic standing on the global stage. A stable, prosperous Somalia would become a pillar of regional security rather than a source of instability, contributing positively to the stability of the entire Horn of Africa. This is a chance for the nation to reclaim its sovereignty in a meaningful way. However, this path is not without its perils. The resource curse is a well-documented phenomenon where immense natural wealth can paradoxically lead to corruption, inequality, and conflict rather than prosperity. For Somalia to avoid this fate, it must establish strong, transparent, and accountable institutions to manage the oil revenue. The government will need to ensure that the benefits are shared equitably among its diverse clans and regions to prevent the wealth from becoming another source of internal division. The partnership with Turkey, a country with its own experiences in managing large-scale infrastructure projects, could provide valuable expertise in this regard. The success of this venture will largely depend on the Somali government's ability to navigate these complex internal challenges. It requires building a national consensus around how the oil wealth will be used for the collective good of all Somalis. If managed wisely, these 110 billion barrels of oil could be the engine that drives Somalia's reconstruction and reintegration into the international community. It offers a tangible path toward a future where Somalia is defined not by its past struggles, but by its economic potential and its strategic importance as a key energy producer on the world map. This is the hope that the Turkey-Somalia deal inspires. The Turkey-Somalia oil deal has not occurred in a vacuum. It has sent significant ripples across the geopolitical landscape, forcing other global and regional powers to reassess their positions. The United States, which has long focused on counter-terrorism in Somalia, now watches with a mixture of caution and interest. On one hand, a stable and economically viable Somalia aligns with US goals. On the other hand, Turkey's growing military and economic dominance in the region presents a challenge to Washington's influence. The US now has to contend with a NATO ally that is charting a very independent foreign policy course, one that could complicate American strategic interests in the Indian Ocean. China, which has extensive economic interests across Africa through its Belt and Road Initiative, is also paying close attention. Beijing views the Horn of Africa as a critical node in its maritime trade routes and has established its own military base in nearby Djibouti. Turkey's move into Somalia's energy sector introduces a new competitor into the mix. While China is primarily focused on securing resources and trade routes, Turkey's approach, which blends military, economic, and cultural ties, offers a different model of influence. This could lead to a more complex and competitive environment as both nations vie for influence and access to Africa's resources and markets. The reactions from the Gulf nations, particularly the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, are perhaps the most pronounced. These countries have long seen the Horn of Africa as their strategic backyard and have competed for influence in Somalia. Turkey's deepening alliance with Mogadishu is a direct challenge to their ambitions. The UAE, for instance, has previously backed rival factions within Somalia and has a tense relationship with the current government. Ankara's success in securing such a landmark deal is viewed in Abu Dhabi and Riyadh as a significant strategic setback, potentially escalating regional rivalries as Gulf states seek to counter Turkey's expanding footprint. In conclusion, the Turkey-Somalia oil agreement is far more than a simple energy deal. It is a powerful symbol of a shifting global order. It highlights the rise of assertive middle powers like Turkey, which are capable of projecting influence and challenging the dominance of traditional superpowers. For Somalia, it offers a potential lifeline to a more prosperous and stable future. For the rest of the world, it is a clear indicator that the geopolitical chessboard in Africa is being redrawn. The competition is no longer just about oil. It is about strategic partnerships, military presence, and the fundamental question of who will shape the future of this vital continent.